What's going on, everybody, and what's going on, folks? My name is David, and I'm your legendary host of this legendary podcast, the D-constructing Topic podcast. But you know what we do? We grab a topic, you just grab this, whatever it is that it's on your mind, my mind, whatever's going on, whether it's history, philosophy, sports, and a little bit in between, whatever it is. We grab it and we just deconstruct it the D way. Let's go. We do all that good stuff. Hey, listen, my podcast, if you want to go and listen to a podcast that has all these different audios of, whatever music, all this good stuff. Hey, listen, I just, the musician here. I am your host and I am the voice of this podcast. We got definitely a good one. And it's very, as I would say, Puerto Rican centric in a sense, but it's always good to know for those people who Puerto Rican or at least born in Puerto Rico or born in United States or wherever you're born in this world and you consider yourself Puerto Rican, this is a good one because this is a story that you may and most likely, I'm going to go on a limb that you may not know. And it's one of those controversial stories. And if you're not Puerto Rican or outside of whatever it is, still enjoy this podcast. Grab your family, all that good stuff. Because sometimes, hey, listen, I always tell people in regards to my views and certain political views that I'm very independent, very, very independent. And the fact that this story is one of those stories that actually gonna help people kind of understand where my mindset is at, living in United States, raised in United States here, that hey, listen, there's powers that be in this country historically have gone to other countries and you know done a little crazy stuff there with the people and the government that's also in place. So we gotta go one, sit down, relax, and I'm pretty sure that once you listen to this one, you're gonna hit that like button. And if you're not subscribed or you know people that have had not heard of my podcast, hey, share it. I'm all over the place: YouTube, Podbean, Apple, Spotify, on the Deconstructing Topic podcast. And let's make it happen. Let's go. And this one, we're gonna be talking about. And don't mind me. I kind of woke up a little stuffy, but my throat a little, kind of dry. So don't mind me. I'm not. As a matter of fact, I am having a little adult beverage, a little tad bit, just for the sake of, with a little bit of lemon. Let's get it. But anyways, we got Puerto Rico. So right now, again, this is a Puerto Rican centric episode, and we are talking about Las Carpetas, Puerto Rico's secret files. That's correct, Las Carpetas, or you could call them folders, if you will. And basically, what is La Carpeta? People be like, okay, David, yeah, you got me there. And in that rugs, no, carpetas could mean a lot. But carpetas in this case, in this context, was basically folders or secret files that the Puerto Rican government, with in cahoots with the, if I'm not mistaken, the FBI, basically compiling, tracking. It sounds familiar. People are gonna be like, "Oh, wait a minute, this sounds familiar." Basically, tracking, compiling, surveillance people, whether it's musicians, artists, even the most common person, labor, who were leaning towards pro independence. And one to have always said in my podcast is that I'm an advocate for the independence of Puerto Rico because I'm always an advocate of thinking on our own, even living in the United States, where we could unplug ourselves from the system, the political system here, and do things on our own. Hey, listen, if you want to be a politician or you want to run for office, by all means, if you're running independent, and I don't mean independent party, but just no label there, hey, by all means, I'm here to listen. Because sometimes, ugh, I'm not even going to go there. That's a different podcast, but we are here, and what I call betas. And again, it was just the secret surveillance, basically. If I deconstruct your boy, David, it's in Puerto Rico, it's in the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. My understanding that the program stopped somewhere in the 80s, and I'm going to give the reason why and one of the reasons. But if your boy was saying, hey, independence, Puerto Rico, all that good stuff, guess what? Local government, even your neighbors, we might have gotten a little bit of chump change there. Even people would say, hey, listen, this person drives this person wakes up at 4 o'clock in the morning, this person jogs at 6 o'clock in the morning. They like their coffee black, no sugar, no nothing, just plain. And this person enjoys listening to some classical music. I'm just using an example in this. And basically, that's what that folders compile, this carpetas. And everywhere you go, there was always people, surveillance, surveil you, because you have to understand. And a little bit, it could be because of the Cold War. That's one attribution for those people in regards to the Cold War, basically, starting World War II. Once the defeat of the Nazis in Europe, Russia and United States were the two superpowers, and they went at each other. You know, Surveillance, I mean, crazy stories, submarines, possible, how can I say, atomic bomb drop, wars, all that good stuff. You name it, you already know. So now, if I'm in, and we talking about in the 50s, 60s, 70s, during the Cold War, if I'm in, pro independence advocate in the island of Puerto Rico, yeah, they're probably either gonna call me a communist, they're gonna leave me that I've got Russian ties, Cuban ties. So everywhere one goes, that if you support the independence, and I'm just gonna also bring this interesting, crazy story, that at one time, and I believe it was in the late 40s, there was this La Ley de Mordaza gag law. Basically, if you show anything, because at that time you have Don Albizu Campos and others in the nationalist party, in a sense, or, group that pro-independent, that if you display even the Puerto Rican flag at your home, that you could actually could get arrested, or if you're not, say, listen, how much people can you put in a jail, right? But because you keep and you silence that even in your home, just waving that Puerto Rican, flag there with the star and all that, red, blue, light blue, whatever it is, you want to put the one of resistance, the black and white flag. Oh my God, you'll be done. You'll be done. They'll be scoping you like, and keep in mind, of course, and obviously, this was way before the internet. Of course, they were like, okay, Dave, come on. But what I'm saying is this, that even on the mind of those people, there was a paper trail. So even this gag law that, sadly, again, displaying some type of anything that has to do with your country in your homeland, that, yeah, somebody will be knocking on your door like, do, hey. So you got that flag because of what? That's illegal. Imagine that. Doing something illegal that's very pro, how can I say, to the effect of your country and your homeland, because now it is different territory. It is Puerto Rico. It's no longer Borinquen. Sadly, now we are under, in that time, United States, we're a United States colony. This is not the time of Taínos or anything. So you want to display that modern time of, hey, viva Puerto Rico. You know what? Yo, what are you talking about? You coming with me. And all this time, and I've met, hey, listen, and I'm one to say, that when it comes to my views or anything to that effect, I'm one to say that one of the gifts that I've gotten living in this beautiful world is that coming from Puerto Rico, is that I'm an outsider looking in, right? And there's things that when I came to the United States, I seek. There are certain how can I say places, in New York City, in the Bronx, in Porridge, poor areas on purpose, absolutely. I ain't gonna deny that. So just keep that in mind, that even on my homeland in Puerto Rico, everything, they plant seeds there. So I've met people, many people, some of my elders that were part of that. There were files. And this led, to somewhat of a climate of fear type of sense. And again, just keep in mind that everywhere you went, I think you probably would go to the bathroom. There was somebody watching me. Woo, 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 woo. Little Michael Jackson reference song. Oh, what's the other guy's name? I forgot what's the name of the singer, but you already know. But somebody's watching me. Woo. And the fact that anywhere you went, and there were Puerto Ricans at that time, those in that movement, who knew that there was something going on. Because remember, this is secret files. It's as secret as a secret, as more of a secret. But people kind of felt it like, Like who's this right here, looking at me like that? Yo, papi, why you yo mommy, why you looking at me like that, man? With their newspaper up in their face, peeking and stuff like that. Like, what are you doing? So there were many Puerto Ricans that knew about, but sadly, there are those who, if you had the 1954 Capitol Hill shooting in Puerto Rico, well, in the United States, I take it back. I have a couple of Puerto Ricans out there that were wilding out, but, for a cause, because they knew that even in their homeland, they could have been gone down. So basically, it's they knew, everybody knew. So for those people out there that were pro-independence, sadly, you stop being that because of that fear. The government is gonna grab you, torture you. Keep in mind, is this that we also in the Cold War time, so the United States was ramping up its biological. Am I saying that right? Their bioweapons. They were ramping them up, using them, against Puerto Ricans, against blacks here in the United States, the natives, and all that good stuff. We know that because again, the connection to the Cold War is that. Trust me, I could go. If this is why I'm doing this podcast, because we're gonna engage and we're gonna educate people. People gonna listen to this podcast. Whoever listen to this podcast, hey, absolutely listen to the whole thing. People love, there's people. A lot of people have hit me up like, "Wow, David, I didn't know." Go to that water cooler by the job, right? And have that conversation like, yo, did you hear David's podcast about the las carpetas or las carpetas, the folders, the secret files? Because imagine that at that time, whether the fact that just you being or thinking independent, they align you. Your political descent, they align you to communism, socialism. Oh, this guy's a radical. Hey, listen, I'm a radical. Sometimes I close my eyes and I imagine, okay, if I'm living in that town, would I be one of those radical, crazy out there? When I say crazy, it's more of educating the masses. I think I would be more of an educator, and absolutely, if I had to throw my gloves and get a little fight on, because at one point, sadly, the powers that be in the United States of America, whether it's Vietnam, Dominican Republic, Laos, they cause havoc. And there are people that are going to wake up and say, hey, listen, eye for an eye, right? So at that time, the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, even in the 70s, there were kind of a couple of attacks here in American soil by certain groups of Puerto Rican, what they call them, macheteros, or they got other ones, because we know that it's here. And that, it's kind of like in a sense, if those people, COINTELPRO, COINTELPRO, FBI just, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, they went all ham and try to get all this information. But again, Puerto Ricans just couldn't pinpoint, like, listen, I know there's something going on. I feel it. You have a sense that, your gut is telling you something like, why is that person behind me? Why are they following me? They like my shoes? I think I would have probably said that. Yo, Papi, you like my shoes? You like my guayabera? What's up, Papi? What are you doing following me? And something happened. And in 1978, matter of fact, let me look it up. Yes, in 1978, something happened. And I remember, I was not born in 1978, by the way, but growing up in the early 80s in Puerto Rico, mid 80s, there was an event that happened, sad event, called Cerro Maravilla. That's CERRO Maravilla. Maravilla. So what happens is this. There were a couple of two young independent activists who decided to, we're going to go to a television tower. The accusations that they were going to, I believe they were going to blow up the tower or something to that effect. And they got intercepted. They took a cab and they got intercepted. Interesting. So two young independent, they tell the cab driver, hey, listen, we're going this way. The cab driver doesn't know. My understanding, right? And they got intercepted by the police, Puerto Rican police. And I don't know where these two Puerto Rican young men came out, were dragged, beaten, and executed. And that became a big thing because even Puerto Ricans that even they were not in the pro-independence side of things, that they kind of, because then you got in Puerto Rico, you got those who are pro-statehood supported, those who support the status quo at the moment, Commonwealth, whatever it is that we at now at this situation, and those in the independence. And the fact that these are one of those things that evaluate a lot of Puerto Ricans to say, there's something doesn't seem right here. You're telling me that the police, the local police in that town, you're gonna tell me that magically they intercepted a cab with two young independent Puerto Rican going to a tower, that they were gonna do some harm to the tower, whatever the case might be. You're gonna tell me that by coincidence? So sadly, that led to the investigation when these individuals were executed, sadly. Is that the police started coming out with a story? Oh no, eso fue, self-defense, ellos tenían pistola, ellos le iban a matar a nosotros. No, deja eso. People didn't buy it. And then it became a big case, actually. So that big case, it became something big. And we're talking about big case. It's, I think it was 1985, 86, somewhere, where basically the governor of Puerto Rico, at that time, knew something. And he was part of this whole thing of La Carpeta in cahoots with the United States. Even though the fact that the FBI, have to investigate and came out that, hey, listen, something just ain't right, but those two young gentlemen, they got killed by the local police is a Puerto Rican thing. But we're here to investigate. We're here to find out what's going on. And that's when the things with the carpetas became a thing. And then, gathering information and all this operations, that became something of a unconstitutional thing where you're basically hounding, compiling these individuals that they just expressing their opinion or their beliefs in regards to Puerto Rico being independent. So La Carpeta is something that it brought people in the 80s, a lot of Puerto Ricans to kind of, hey, neighbor, no, I'm with you. I love America. Let's go, America. To turn people. And sadly, it trickles down to your generations that now out of nowhere, from you standing your ground in regards to the independence, that because of this situations con la carpeta, the folders, the secret files, is that now you kind of change that perspective. That's how I always say that you thwart a revolution by using the means of fear. You take away this, you take away that, and sadly people cave. And I always have said there's a lot of Puerto Ricans, more than what the vote or more than what the voice is. There's those that support the independence, but they're going to say, we'll continue with, voting the status, quo. But it's definitely, and then, just to give you a lesson in regards to that, I mean, I'm going to be putting the links and I'm hoping to do also a little video essay in regards to that. But it just, it was more like, historical documents or stories or resilience. But just the fact that this happened in this little island, and just think about what happens in other places of the world where United States have their hands on, and imagine and just think about even in this soil, this American land, the stuff that the government and the powers that be have done to their people. Fear is a thing, man. Fear is a thing. And sadly, we live in a time and always have been living, whether it's the media, music, whatever it is out there, entertainment, whatever it is, the school system, they numb you down. And they try their best to make sure that you don't know about little situations like this. I'll take it back, not little, but to know historical things that happen even on the island of Puerto Rico. Because it could happen to your country. It don't matter where you at. I'm pretty sure. If you got a story, if you are from Dominican Republic, Cuba, Venezuela, Mexico, South America, if you have a story to share, whether it's your government in cahoots with the United States or just your government itself oppressing the people, giving them those fears, following them, taking away their rights, their civil rights, let me know. Hit me up. I'm glad you enjoy this. Let's make it happen. Once again, it's your boy Deconstructing Topic Podcast. Feel free to share. Please do share. Do hit the like button. Do feel free to comment and reach out to me. All the information is in my description. Anyways, you already know. Holla at the boy. Peace. I'm out. Ooh.